Caleb, what is this
Yeah,
even gonna be?
this is a thing where I'm going to get real sensual with the microphone, and I'm going to tell you about a game that I played and had just a little bit too much to say about it.
And I'm gonna do the same.
Nice,
And then you're all
nice.
gonna play them both. So, Caleb,
Yeah,
tell me,
yeah.
what did you play this week?
Yeah. I played. Wait, ready, Greg? Hang on. Let me just throw this. The show's called Pint and
Oh, thank you.
Subscribe.
It's very nice.
Nice. Okay, now, Greg, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked what I played today because I played Hogwarts Legacy
Mm-hmm.
for the most time, and I got some things to say about it, Greg. I got some things to say.
Mm-hmm.
So let me start off with first off, great game, great game. I feel like lately we've been getting a lot of games that are just completely broken or are like money grabs or something. Hogwarts Legacy is none of those things. And that doesn't mean, there aren't glitches. I still found the occasional glitch here or there. Every game's got them, you know? Um, but no, I think Hogwarts Legacy ended up being a really solid game. There's not a single microtransaction in sight. There's a paid DLC where you can get a Thestral mount and some dark arts clothing. But that's it for like paid things, and then it's just the game. And I gotta say, it's pretty good. I beat it. I completed it. Yeah, why don't we start with the gameplay, Greg? So Hogwarts Legacy plays really well. I just like what seems to be everybody else on the internet thought that the combat would kind of be shit, but no. After playing it, I was pleasantly surprised. The combat's super fun. It's actually probably the most fun part of the game because the exploration's really cool and stuff. But we'll get to that. But it's the gameplay's really fun.
My biggest thing was before Hogwarts Legacy came out, was I was feeling there was just kind of one of those gut feelings. You know, you kind of have a gut feeling when you see like trailers of a game and whatnot. My gut feeling was that they
Yeah.
weren't going to be able to pull off a gameplay like combat that felt good.
Yeah, I get that, and I also felt that. Yeah, and no, it's great. So how combat works is it's Harry Potter, so you learn these spells, right? Um, and each spell kind of falls into a category, and they're all like color coded. So you have your yellow spells, which are mostly levitation spells, or you have like Glacius, which is a freezing spell. And the way it works is enemies have shields. They have these shields around them, and to break those shields, you have to use the spell that corresponds to the color of their shield. So if they have a yellow shield, you have to use one of your yellow spells. If they have a red shield, you use a red spell. Um, and it goes on like that. But it is really cool too, because they added the unforgivable curses in the game, which is I think something that like everybody wants in a Harry Potter game, but I don't think they've ever done it before, where you can just use those. And they did it, and it kicks ass. The unforgivable curses break through any color shield, and so it's kind of like an incentive to be like, hey, use these evil spells, you know?
Right, it's almost like when you drop a bomb in rock paper scissors, it just kind of over the tops everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, combat's super fun. The uh, the atmosphere of the game is incredible. The whole story, the everything about it is great. Um, I was telling Maddie though, I actually have after finishing the story, I actually feel like the better story is actually one of the companions missions. Um, they're just great. They're super fun and very engaging. And the story's okay. I think it's like your typical like Harry Potter story. Um, it was pretty fun, but not not the highlight for me. The highlight was definitely some of those companion missions. They were very fun.
Hmm. Now let me ask you: does the like story give you branching so you can, because it's labeled as an action RPG? Does the story give you kind of the option to be good or evil, or is it kind of pushing you down that like noble path?
So the game's really funny about like dark art spells and stuff. So like you have the unforgivable curses, which are named the unforgivable curses, right? Like you use those, you get thrown in Azkaban, right? But you can you can just do those in front of teachers during missions and stuff, and like nobody really bats an eye. You can just fully commit manslaughter, and a teacher will be like, "Hey, you're doing good." So no, it doesn't really allow for a branching of like good or evil. It pretty much forces you to be good. I will say I don't want to spoil anything in the game, but I will say towards the end, there was a dialogue option that you can choose that is kind of not necessarily evil, but it is kind of like the opposite of what people want you to do. Um, and I don't really know what happens if you choose that option. I didn't choose it, but so you can there is like yeah there's some dialogue options. You can straight up be a dick in the game if you want to. Like there's side quests that you do and like you get rewarded for them. But if you want to be a dick, you can do like the Witcher thing and demand more money
Yeah,
for
yeah.
completing side quests. So that was pretty fun.
That's pretty good. I've with all of the talk around this game, both good and bad, um, it's actually kind of boosted my interest in Harry Potter. I was always one to like start reading the first book and fall off as a kid. It was almost like a rinse and repeat of that. So lately, I've been working my way through the movies.
Oh yeah.
Most of them I've seen, not most of them, but a couple of them I've seen and uh, previously. Like I saw a couple in theaters and whatnot, but this is my first time kind of catching the whole story from start to end, and it's been pretty fun. It's almost been like well, a loop because I heard about the game and all the buzz around the game, and then that got me interested to watch the movies. And now watching the movies almost makes me want to buy and play the game. So it's been like a
Yeah.
kind of a loop there.
Yeah, no, I don't know if this is like a hot take here or not, but no, I honestly find the world of Harry Potter more interesting than like the actual story of Harry Potter,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like Hogwarts Legacy was so cool to me because it wasn't like I was playing a Harry Potter movie, you know. I was playing my a movie of my own character, you know, and I
Hmm.
was getting to do all of the things that Harry Potter uh all of the things that the Harry Potter movies make me love about the universe, but without the Harry Potter story and stuff. It's a chance to kind of make your own story and like it really does feel unique when you play it. Like when I met all of the students and stuff, you meet a lot of them, and like it almost does feel like you're meeting a new friend when you meet them and stuff. It's really interesting to see, and the amount of things that the game does right is just mind blowing. Like it nails all of those feelings that the Harry Potter movies give you. Like like flying on a broomstick, for instance. Like that game nails the feeling of like it just feels like freedom in the game, and it feels good to just kind of fly around and go where you want.
Ultimately, for Harry Potter fans, that was the biggest thing this game kind of sold itself on, was the chance to put yourself, to create a character that was a representation of yourself into that world, because that's like a huge thing that people wanted when I was growing up, kind of at the same time as the movies were coming out, that video games couldn't really capture super well, but now they can.
Oh yeah, no, and it felt great. Like yeah, making a character and they so it also connects to like the Harry Potter. I don't remember what it's called now. I think it used to be Pottermore or something, but now
Mm-hmm.
it's changed. But there's a Harry Potter app you can get that's like officially licensed and stuff, and it sorts you into a house
Mm-hmm.
based on your answers to questions and stuff. It assigns you a wand based on questions, and it even gives you like a Patronus and stuff. And it's really cool because you get the option to link your account from that to Hogwarts Legacy when you start the game.
Yeah.
So all of your stuff carries over. So like, and I did that. I actually made two characters because I wanted to try linking it, and then I also wanted to see what it was like if you don't link it.
Mm-hmm.
And for linking it, yeah, it was awesome. It brought over my house and everything. So when you start the game and you do the whole sorting ceremony and stuff, it shows you the house that you were assigned to, and yeah, it was just really fun. And if you don't link it, you still get to pick your house and stuff. You can pick your house. I think you might be able to randomize it too. I can't remember. But it was very fun doing the whole like picking house stuff, and yeah, that whole intro is amazing, and the wand customization is cool too. That's something that I didn't even know was going to be in the game, but yeah, when you start the game, you get to customize a wand, and it does suck a little because when you make that wand, you're stuck with that wand for the rest of the game,
Right.
which kind of blows, but you can change wand handles, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Now let me ask you, Caleb, what house were you?
Now I tell you what, Greg,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a fan of Harry Potter,
Yeah.
so I did the old quiz and stuff before the game came out.
Mm-hmm.
I got Ravenclaw
Wow.
from answering questions, which I was pretty happy with because I like that house. It seems cool. I will say that it seems to be an agreed upon thing that in Hogwarts Legacy, if you pick the house Ravenclaw, you'll have the least amount of side quests to do.
Hmm.
So it is kind of like an unintentional penalty, I
Yeah,
guess, for
yeah.
picking Ravenclaw. Also, there's not really a Ravenclaw companion. Um, there's three main companions, I would say, and they're all introduced pretty early in the game. And each one belongs to a different house than Ravenclaw. And I don't think there's ever really a Ravenclaw companion. There is a student you meet who like you do a mission with, but that person did not feel like a Ravenclaw companion to me. So that sucked a little bit. But yeah, no. Overall, I was really happy with the game. And with that being said, how about we dip into some of the negatives with the game?
All right.
So first things first, the amount of side quests depending on the house you pick definitely kind of sucks. Which and I can't necessarily confirm that either. That's just word around the word around the grapevine here is that Ravenclaw has the least amount of quests. And it definitely seems that way to me playing it right now. I don't have that many side quests to do. But anyways, so that's kind of a negative. I honestly don't have anything negative to say about the combat. Like, I feel like there's so many spells, unless you use the same thing over and over again. I feel like there's enough variety with spells and stuff to keep combat pretty entertaining. So I don't really have anything negative to say about the combat. But I do have some negative stuff to say about the overall world of the game. They made it feel alive, and also not alive, all at the same time. You see a lot of NPCs walking around maps and stuff, and you see a lot of them like talking, and every once in a while you'll see like a scripted event happen, and that's really cool to see. But then other times it just feels like dead in Hogwarts walking around.
That's super important to any world that you can walk around in. Like you've got to have. We talked about it with I can't remember if it was Witcher 3 or was it Cyberpunk, where it just didn't feel like there were really interactions going on in that world.
Yeah, absolutely. And the like I said, Hogwarts Legacy does have its fair share of scripted moments and stuff that they're reoccurring scripted moments too. So it's not like you see it once and then you never will again.
Yeah.
You see them every now and then, and they're fun. Like they don't necessarily get repetitive. Because it's not something that you have to sit and watch. Like you can just walk around it if you don't want to see it. But I don't know. There are definitely times in the game where I just feel like it doesn't seem that alive. And one of the things that really killed it for me, really killed the feeling of it being alive, is the fact that you don't actually have companions. They're the three companion characters. They're not actually like Skyrim companions where they follow you around and stuff. Instead, they do their own thing around Hogwarts, and then you do missions with them, and that's it. You can't interact with them outside of class. You can't invite them to go adventuring with you, and that really kills it for me because I feel like half of the Harry Potter experience is that it's like in the movies or in the books, it's Ron, Hermione, and Harry, right? And it's like the trio doing fun shit together. And not being able to do that kind of feels like a bummer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A game that does do the whole alive world well, and we'll get into it. We'll get into it later or another time. But I've also been playing Like a Dragon Ishin, and that game does the whole world and atmosphere thing incredibly well. That game does it so well that like I actually find myself having to walk around all of these things that are happening because I either want to do the main quests or if I get sidetracked, I know I'll get sidetracked for hours just doing the side stuff.
I've come to a final decision that I'm probably going to buy that game. First hint of sales, as far as like, even if it drops like $5 at some point, I'm probably gonna scoop that game up.
Yeah, I recommend it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Um, is there anything else you want to talk about with Hogwarts Legacy? Should we switch gears to Ishin, or do you have a game you want to bring up?
I'll jump in here and then we can kind of go back and
Yeah.
forth. The game I told you I was going to bring to the table this week was Atomic Heart.
Yes.
That game, I will say, I put about an hour and a half into.
Okay.
There are good things about it, and there are things that I didn't super enjoy. And I think at the end of the day, it's not a game for me. It's a game that I put down after that hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah, I'll start with what I really liked about it, what I appreciated about it for before I kind of get into my panning of it. But I will say that like environmentally it is incredible. It lives up to exactly what it kind of promised in that regard. It looks really good. The graphics look really impressive also, so it's not just like the environments are bolstered by really good graphics, and I think next generation human like design, that really feels like something that they've taken a step forward for this generation. So the graphics are really good. The environment looks really good, and it's helped by those graphics. And I will say, like you were saying about Hogwarts Legacy, is that at launch it was bug free pretty much for as far as the hour and a half I played. Like you said, a lot of games that come out now are just like you kind of know you're gonna have to wait a week before for that first patch before you can actually get a stable running game. But I will
Yeah,
say
absolutely.
that Atomic Heart came right out the box, running fine from what I've played. But that's
Oh,
about
that's good.
where my positives end.
Lay those negatives on me, Greg.
So, for the first half an hour of this game, there was barely any gameplay. It was riding on a like little futuristic boat around the city to try and lay some like environmental storytelling on you, and listening to people talk, and that wasn't great for someone who kind of just likes to. Uh, I want the game to interlace the story while I'm playing it. I feel like there's no reason you can't do that either. So a
Yep.
lot of the first half hour is just like I could just put the controller down and watch. And maybe that's not a negative for other people, but that's just not what I personally wanted from the game at the time. Combat ultimately pretty bland, pretty basic, pretty. I would liken it to like Dying Light. You remember like the original Dying Light? Good game, honestly. I like the game, but like that combat where it's kind of stiff and clunky, you know?
Oh yeah,
It
yep,
doesn't necessarily feel the best as you're playing it.
yep. I get that.
So gameplay was like passable, but not enough to pull through for how little of it I was getting in the first half hour, and definitely not enough to pull through with just how unlikable this main character is.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot. One of the biggest complaints about the game I've heard is that the English voice does not at all go with this character.
I my biggest complaint has more to do with like it just sounds like an angsty teenager wrote this character of like what an angsty teenager would think is cool, you know?
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
everything, you know, you have a glove that has little tentacles that shoot out and like really cool idea. But then your character's just talking down to it every time it helps you.
That is pretty good.
It's
Yeah.
like this guy just couldn't like every chance, and I'm like, okay. The first time I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. What did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Like, and then it happens again. He's like kind of snippety with someone else, and you're like, what is going on? It just in every time you're like, no, there's no way this is like the whole game. But then every time you would just come back and you'd be like, you have something just annoying to say. I was like, if I'm going to spend, however, I don't even know the runtime of this game, but if I'm going to spend 20 hours, which is about what a normal game runs, if I'm going to spend 20 hours with this character, I don't want to be, with someone that's just like not likable and like I just can't relate to, It's the same thing as if you're reading like a book, even, you need to have some amount of relatability with that main character.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, speaking of the 20 hours thing, I just really quickly want to throw in here too. I beat Hogwarts Legacy and beat what I would consider a decent amount of side quests, all within about 24 to 25 hours. I gotta be honest, decent length for a game. But no, going back to Atomic Heart, yeah, that I definitely get that. And no, Atomic Heart is a game I'm really interested in it, and I think it's the kind of game where I can't, like, I don't know, no review has like deterred me from it, no matter how bad. It's one of those games where like I just got to jump in and see it for myself, because I'm so interested in the concept of it. I like BioShock type things, BioShock like related things, or things that seem like BioShock. I love so much. So this is one of those games where I will absolutely be diving in to see how it goes. And yeah, I'll have to let you know my thoughts on it.
The thing that really made like the character in this game really made me appreciate BioShock and like BioShock 2 with those silent protagonists that were like just not in the way of the environment, because like I think it seems to me like this game could be on the same level of like just a really cool world to explore, just like BioShock is, and there's something interesting around every corner. But like
Yep.
I just, I'm harping on it, but this character is just so unlikable.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And honestly, I kind of felt that with Hogwarts Legacy a little bit. Not necessarily that the character's unlikable, but I feel like the game gives you two options. You can either be like overbearingly nice, or you can be a douchebag. And like I almost wish that there was more of a middle ground where like almost like a middle ground where I could like show that I don't really care about doing some of these side quests. You know what I mean? Like you talk to somebody and it's either, "Oh yes, I'll help you and let me cuddle you until you're happy again," or you pick the mean option and it's, "Fuck off, I don't want to deal with you." And like I don't know, a middle ground would have been cool. So yeah, to a degree, I definitely get like wishing your protagonist had some different lines.
Yeah, I would liken that to I recently played the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yes, yep.
And the dialogue in that's very much the same, where it's like you either kind of have your good guy, always the hero of the story shepherd lines. You have your like always negative lines, and it seems like there's very little. Well, either sometimes there's very little difference between those two lines, and sometimes it's like the two most extremes where there is something where you're like, come on, can I just get something in the middle of those two?
Yep.
And I mean, I
Yep,
get it. I think it's
absolutely.
hard to. I mean, it's incredibly hard to do branching dialogue, both from the aspect of having to write all those different branches, but also having to record all those different branches. And when you're thinking about it from game development standpoint, I can't imagine how tough it would be to see, like, for example, on a Mass Effect, they collected data on what choices players made a lot. So imagine being, the writer or, the audio engineer that had to sit in there and record those lines and then see that, like, the evil choice only got picked like 13% of the time. You're like, oh my god, 13% of our audience only 13% of our audience saw this line that I may have spent hours recording with the voice actor.
Yep.
But that's what makes, I think, those kind of branching dialogue games so rare, is that not a lot of it's a lot of extraneous effort for mixed results.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Atomic Heart seems really interesting to me though, and I do have it on my list of games to play. I bought it already, but I don't have internet over here, so I've just been staring at the game, unable to play it. I because I am using some weak local signal Wi-Fi's right now. And
Owned by
I've
someone
managed.
you know, correct? That was what you said earlier.
Oh yes, oh yes,
Yes.
yeah.
You're not,
Owned by somebody I know.
You're not hacking
Not
into
stealing.
the mainframe.
No, not stealing or anything. They're close enough to where I am now. And I'm still waiting to get internet because I just moved into a new house. But yeah, so no, I have just enough internet connection so it downloaded about 10 gigabytes of the game, and then it stopped there, and it hasn't downloaded anything since.
Oh my god. That's
So
yeah. Well, I wish you luck with Atomic Heart. I really do. I hope you enjoy it more than I did. I won't lie though. Coming into Atomic Heart, and honestly, I really did try to give it enough time where I wasn't just jumping back out. There was a little bit of relief about Atomic Heart not really landing for me, because I'm like, okay, well, because that was the day that both Atomic Heart and the public release of Like a Dragon Ishin came out.
yep.
So it was kind of a relief to be like, okay, one of these games isn't for me. It's not a game I want to pursue to beat. It was a little bit off my plate in a way where I was like, okay, well, that's at least we know that's one less game in this stacked year of video games that I have to try and find time in, or time for, rather.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
My list of games coming out was really exciting to look at a couple months ago, and now as the months gone on, I'm kind of feeling like, is this really all that's coming out right now? But I do think we got some gems along here. I would, for as much negative as I have with Hogwarts Legacy, I would still say it's an amazing game, and I still highly recommend it to anybody who's a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just looking at my games I have listed to remember that when they come out. And Resident Evil 4, I'm gonna get down on that. What?
Yep.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor? Come on now.
I know that's another one where I know I shouldn't, but I've already got it pre-ordered.
Well, you haven't been burnt on pre-orders in the last couple, have you?
No, I've every game I've pre-ordered lately, I've actually really enjoyed.
Yeah. Maybe the curse is reversing in that way.
I know, I hope so. 'Cause,
Yeah.
God, No Man's Sky really got me.
You and about a million others.
Oh yes.
And then what? We have 2 weeks between Jedi Survivor and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
Not enough people are talking about this next one, but I'm gonna yell it from the rooftops because I'm so excited. End of June, we have Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. I'm pretty sure I've told you about this one, haven't I?
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
so
Yes, you have.
excited. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing to that I've played is probably like Stardew or like an Animal Crossing game. I've never actually given one of those a fair shake.
Well, don't even get me started on Stardew. I just re-downloaded the game today and made a list of things that it turns out I haven't done in that game yet that I can do. So there's going to be a couple more hours in the near future dedicated to Stardew Valley for me, which is going to be on top of like already 105 hours in that game.
Yeah, yeah. Stardew Valley is the only game where I found one thing that I liked doing, and then I did that for like an entire in-game year, and now I have no drive to ever play it again. But I
Yep.
just made jams.
Well, to be fair, you picked like one of the best money making parts of the game too, as far as like the jams is. So
Oh yeah.
I just thought of you making jam while in the middle of a sentence, and it really cut me.
Dude, I'm telling you, it was like the best part of that game. Because like you can upgrade your house and you get more space and like there was a point where like my house was just nothing but some of those jam containers where you could throw fruits in and get jams.
Oh, that's so good. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, I'm hoping Story of Seasons comes out. I'm hoping it. We don't have a price tag yet. I'm really hoping for like around $30. Just because
Yep.
then if it's around $30, I can say, Caleb, you have to try this game. It's a
Oh yeah.
prime part of my childhood memories.
Speaking of prices, I feel like I'm getting slaughtered lately with games being like $70 now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I was already pretty like not liking to buy full price games because of Game Pass before the price went up to $70. Game Pass is the best deal in video games, though. I will say that.
Oh yeah. Yep,
Um,
I agree.
I'm sure you've heard that Tears of the Kingdom is going to be at $70.
I haven't, but yeah, that figures.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've already devised a plan for this, and I'm going to share it with you and the millions of people listening to this podcast.
Is it sell jams?
Sell jams, make the money to buy Tears of the Kingdom. Yes. No. Have you seen the Nintendo? If you have a Nintendo online, what is the subscription for them? Anyway, the $20 a year subscription.
Oh yeah, yep.
They offer a deal where you can buy two game pardon me. Wow. 2 game vouchers for $100. So
Wow.
basically, you can get what I'm going to do is buy the 2 game vouchers for $100, use one of them to get Tears of the Kingdom, and then use the second one to get a different game that is $60 for essentially $30.
Yep.
That's my plan. That's what I'm going to recommend anyone does, because why would you pay $70 for one game when you could pay $100 for two?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
looking
no,
back on
prices are
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was looking back on it the way that we've done pretty good this whole time not to like talk over each other. So I mean, for that being the first
I
like
know.
real bad time, we're doing all right.
Oh yeah.
Thinking back on it, the way they rolled it out, I almost think they did it like, hey, look, game vouchers, you can get 2 games for $100. And then a couple weeks later, hey, look, Tears of the Kingdom, it's $70. But don't worry, game vouchers.
Yeah.
I almost
No,
think they rolled
it's-
it out that way.
Yeah. It's a little ridiculous. I'm like, man, it's hard to because like I'm trying so desperately to focus on one game, beat it, and then move on to the next right now. But like there's because the games that I feel like overall I feel like there's not a ton of games coming out right now that I'm super pumped for anymore. But there are still some games I want to play, and the release times for them are so close together.
Yeah, this year is just a
And
weird
that's-
like clumping. Every couple of months they just
Yeah.
clump like 4 games within 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's been the hardest part because like I don't want to end up spending $70 on 2 games in in the span of like 2 days. But yeah, I don't know. The Hogwarts Legacy was my big like most anticipated game, and I'm not necessarily disappointed with it. I had a lot of fun with it. Highly recommend it. But yeah, I think now I'm just kind of riding out the wave until like we get probably until we get Jedi Survivor and Tears of the Kingdom.
Now tell me, before we wrap it up here, give me a little bit on Ishin, like you said you were playing.
So, Ishin's both really good and mind-numbingly boring. The gameplay of Ishin feels okay. Like, for a game that I feel is kind of all about the combat, well, I guess it's probably more all about the story, but for a game where, like, combat is 90% of what the actual gameplay is, I think it's kind of mediocre. Your sword doesn't really feel weighty, you know? Like, sometimes when you attack in a game, it feels like you're really putting some power into the attacks, right? But with Ishin, I feel like the main character is just swinging a sword at paper targets. The animations and the feel of the controls and stuff, they just don't feel as weighty as I'd like them to. Like a game that I think does combat exceptionally well is Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ishin, and I think it's a pretty good comparison too, because both samurai games.
Time period
I
and
think,
combat, yeah.
oh yeah, I think Ishin is just it's like the most bare bones version of Ghost of Tsushima you could have, while also somehow having more to do in combat. Like, they switch it up by giving you 4 different combat styles in Ishin. So you have brawling, you have a gun, you have a sword, or you have a sword and a gun. And each style is very different than the last. With a gun, it's obviously like ranged attacks and stuff. With a sword, it's up close and personal. With brawling, it's, your non-lethal up close and personal. And then you have the sword and gun, which is a pretty cool way to play, because it gives you two methods of attacking, but because it gives you 2, it actually takes away your ability to block. So to use that style and not take hits, you have to evade. And they gave you this hilarious twirl move, and you can just kind of spam it, and it's the funniest thing on the planet. Overall, the combat's kind of meh to me. It just doesn't feel weighty. I don't feel like I'm really, dishing out some cool samurai action. It feels like it feels more like, man, I don't even know what I could compare it to, where it would be an accurate comparison, because I don't know that I've played anything really that has combat that feels so, like, just kind of weightless,
I almost think it's like any Yakuza game in a way. Those games are all very, like, unique and in their own lane. And even though this one, I mean, granted, I haven't played it, so I could be way off base here, and you can correct me on that. But it's almost like, even though it's completely in a different time period, it's still a Yakuza game, and it still feels like a Yakuza game or like a Dragon game now. Pardon me for using the outdated name, but it almost feels like you can still really say these like a Dragon games are in a kind of genre of their own.
No, they definitely are, because yeah. But it is funny though. Judgment, which is same franchise, Judgment actually felt more weighty in combat than this game does, and Judgment came out, man, way before Ishin. So it's actually kind of wild to me how this game feels so, like, weightless. And I don't know, I could be alone in this. Like, I'm sure other people play it and think the combat's fine, but for me, that was definitely the most disappointing part of the game. Other than the combat, though, the world feels super lived in and fun, and there's tons of mini games to do. There's an absurd amount of mini games, actually. It tells you, I think it tells you how many mini games there are in one of the pause screens, and I'm pretty sure it was something like 31 different mini games, which is insane.
I mean, that's a classic. The thing for this series, though, is you'll be, trying to play through the main game, and you'll get sucked into a side game for potentially even hours. I was playing Like a Dragon, or when it was Yakuza Like a Dragon, the, what is it? I guess now it's Like a Dragon 7, the turn-based one with Ichiban, and
Yep.
I got into that heavy last summer when I was out of work for that little short period, and I was working my way through the game, working my way, and it's a long game as is, and it's turn based and all that. So, but then I got sucked into the like candy business mini game, and I kid you not, I say that I spent like probably 5 to 10 hours over the course of 3 days maxing out the business mini game just because it was so much fun and it was like the just completely pulled me in and kept me engaged for that time.
Oh yeah, I bet. Maddie and I, we found just like all of the Like a Dragon games, it's got a karaoke bar in it.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a nice what is it? Late 1800s karaoke bar, and it is the funniest thing. But Maddie and I, it's a rhythm game, and Maddie and I love rhythm games. Maddie does way more than I do, and so we sat on the couch for a bit, just passing the controller back and forth, doing the rhythm game.
That's awesome. Now, this is something I've heard from other sources about the game that I'm not quite clear on that I was hoping you would clear up for me. The
Okay.
characters in this game, are they the characters from the old games, but like almost in a skin of um the historical characters they're supposed to be?
So, and this is kind of a hard question for me because I've actually never played a normal Like a Dragon game. I played the first one for like I want to say probably an hour. Um, so and then other than that, I played a lot of Judgment, but never a normal Like a Dragon game. But From what I gather, because I'm not entirely sure how all these characters are supposed to act in the other games, but in this spin-off, you see a lot of characters that pretty much look exactly the same as they do in the normal game. But yeah, they're kind of reskinned with this new new old style. I believe they might even act different too, because the story is very different too. And instead of joining like a gang or something, it's very different from that. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't say too much more than that. But it is a very different concept overall, like story wise and everything. Not just like because of the time period, but like what the character does is very different story wise. Um,
That's what I
but
heard, is that it was almost like a play of where the characters from the old games uh, were in these characters from this game, but it was still like all of or a lot of the characters from the original Like a Dragon games. The question and how you'll know is there a guy with a eye patch?
yes, there is.
Yeah, he's the like I again, I've only played Like a Dragon, the turn based one, but so I'm not entirely sure. But he's like the antagonist slash ally of the main character in the other Like a Dragon games.
Is he in those games? Is he like kind of like a lunatic that loves like fighting and stuff?
He's out of his damn mind.
Okay, so maybe the characters do act the same because yeah, that is 100% his character in this. There's a dude that has an eye patch, and yeah, he's kind of just like nuts and
Well,
like constantly ready to kill and like wanting to kill.
yeah. To be fair, if you cast a crazy man in a play, you'd still expect him to be a crazy man. There's
Yeah,
only so
yeah.
much you can expect an off the rails guy to be doing to rein in his acting skills.
Yeah, so I think probably the best comparison I could make is the whole game seems to be like if you take Harrison Ford from Star Wars and you put him in Indiana Jones.
Right.
Like you know that in theory he's kind of playing the same type of character, like the cocky, like I'm losing my train of thought
No, it's
now.
fine.
But no, yeah. it's he's kind of playing the same character,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like a different skin and a different time period. But yeah. Uh, the last thing I want to touch on with the game is I don't. I don't think that the combat ruins the game in any way. I don't necessarily think that it's like that much of a negative. The one thing that is kind of ruining the game for me is that it's this game. I could easily make the comparison to like some of the early Metal Gear Solid games. The amount of cutscenes and the length of cutscenes is insane.
Yeah, that was a problem that I had with Like a Dragon. Was like I mean, if I was working at the time and I could only have spent a couple hours a day playing games instead of playing maybe a couple more hours than I normally would, and then still having my whole entire day free because I didn't work 8 hours, I would have put that game down in the first half an hour because the game's cutscenes just drag and drag. But
Yep.
ultimately, I made the decision. Like I stuck with it because somehow that story got its hooks in me quick enough, and then it it paid off with just like a grand, crazy like tale that just kept taking twists and turns, even when you thought that you had played all of the like cards they could have. But yeah, all that to say that like that is one thing that ultimately keeps me from getting into the Like a Dragon series more is the like I just don't want to sit for all this time while you guys talk at me.
No, absolutely. I'm about so from what I hear, I think there's about like 14 chapters in the game. I'm at like chapter 6, so almost the halfway point. And the amount of cutscenes I've sat through is so much larger than the amount of like gameplay I've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not necessarily saying that like when I play the game I'm constantly like getting bored or anything. It the story's pretty engaging for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like, man, I gotta say every time I play it, there's a point where like I'll just put the controller down and just throw a blanket on and just watch.
Yep.
And I can, and it doesn't. I'm not missing anything by not holding the controller. There's no quick time events like that for the cutscenes, and like I feel like I've literally watched a 5-minute cutscene. Like it feels like a whole like video, a whole movie almost. And I think that format works really well for a samurai thing because like the old black and white samurai movies, and I think a lot like Ghost of Tsushima. It kind of has that like that old timey quality to it, where like they're trying to kind of make it like an old black and white samurai movie, and they do it and they do it well, but they do it too long. it's,
Yeah.
it's just so much cutscenes and like it's hard for me to want to recommend the game to like for instance you. I don't even know if I could recommend it to you because I know that I know that sitting through hours of cutscenes aren't your thing, let alone anyone's thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
But
whoever likes it, but I just yeah, it's not my thing for sure. What you're really making me
yeah,
want is an excuse to go in and play Ghost of Tsushima again.
I love Ghost of Tsushima. And honestly, Ishin kind of scratches the itch I had for what I would consider the missing part of Ghost of Tsushima. Like I love Ghost of Tsushima, fantastic game. I love samurais. I love everything that has to do with Japanese culture like that. I think it's super interesting. And Ghost of Tsushima was an amazing game to me. I played it day one when it came out, loved it, beat it, and I still every now and then go back and play it more to just kind of and I've even found like 90% of the collectibles at this point. I'm just kind of going back and playing for fun because the combat's so good. But Ishin does a really good job of having an alive world, where like you walk down the street of a marketplace and there's shop owners standing out front, and it's not like they're just waiting for you to interact with them. They're shouting to you while you walk by, saying like, come browse, come eat here. And it feels so alive as you walk down the street. And the fact that there's a million side quests going on in Ishin all at the same time makes the game feel even crazier. Like I told you, I've been actively avoiding side stuff right now because I just want to get through some of the main story, and it's honestly harder to avoid the side stuff than it is to just go and do it, because there's so much of it around every corner, and that's not at all a bad thing. It honestly makes the game feel just so alive, and like, man, it feels like every time you round a corner, you're gonna bump into somebody new who you actually can fill this like relationship meter with, and like, become friends with this person, and you get items and stuff for filling the relationship meters, and the same thing happens with like store owners and stuff. The more you frequent a store, the more their relationship meter will fill, and then eventually you get like discounts and stuff, which is awesome. And all of that stuff makes the game feel so crazy and alive. But yeah, that's the one thing I felt Ghost of Tsushima was missing. And like, yes, I know that the story of Ghost of Tsushima doesn't really allow for like towns to be super lively because they're under attack and stuff. I get that, but like, after beating Ghost of Tsushima, it would have been cool to see some life come back into the map, to see like some towns, grow more, and like, anything to help make the game feel alive. Because, after you beat Ghost of Tsushima, you can still play. There's just not a lot to do. You have like the side quests and stuff, and you have all of the things you can liberate, like the small towns and things like that. But no, the game, I feel like the game never really feels alive again. When the towns come back after you liberate them, they don't really feel alive. There's no shop owners that are, like calling your name, getting you to come over and look, and yeah. But yeah, overall, I would say Ishin definitely gets a pretty high score from me. I like it. It's just, if you're gonna play it, make sure you have time.
Now, Caleb, after Atomic Heart fell through for me and wasn't really a game that I wanted to continue playing, I spent some time kind of bouncing between games this week. So what I want to do, if you'll allow me, if you'll grant me the privilege, is I want to rapid fire 3 quick games before we get out of here.
Do it. Lay them on me.
So, first game is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I picked that game up purely because there's a sweepstakes going on Xbox right now, where if you play both Halo Infinite and Shredder's Revenge, and you enter the sweepstakes, you could win. There's a couple prizes, but the one I'd really like to win, if I were to win a sweepstakes and get lucky this time, is the Master Chief like Xbox Elite controller. That thing is so gorgeous. Yeah. I would love to add that to like my little miniature controller collection.
I just want to point out too, you just said the most wild combination of games to me too. A sweepstakes where you play Halo and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game. They might as well have said like Home Alone and Call of Duty.
Yeah, no, it is very weird, but the thing is, it's tied to Game Pass, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was, I mean, I'm sure Halo was chosen because they want to get the player base back in, and they're trying to pump that game ahead of the 3rd season of that.
That for the second game, they spun a wheel.
Yeah, no, it's like, they're like, okay, pull up a randomizer on your computer, paste in the list of games on Game Pass that aren't Halo Infinite, and click the randomize button, because like Shredder's Revenge...
Yeah, no, dude, I can tell you right now, all right? The only reason that game got picked is because somebody made a mistake and entered that game twice in the randomizer.
No, I think Wu-Tang might have paid to be a part of this, like, because, like, why else is Shredder's Revenge from last year coming up now? I don't know. But, that being said, I'm glad it did. I jumped into that game just to play a level, to fulfill the requirements of the sweepstakes, and try and win myself that precious Master Chief controller. But
Yeah.
I jumped in with my partner, and we went in and we did the first level, and we had a blast. It was a great time. So now we played the first 4 stages. She's gonna come over again some point in the future. I hope she'll return to my apartment. And we're gonna play the next 4 levels, and there's only like 12 or 16 levels in that game, so it's like 4 level sittings, and we've played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and it was a real good time,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and it's awesome because I really kind of enjoyed the little bit of it I played last year solo, but it really comes in finds the fun, or I found the fun rather, playing with someone. So yeah, it's a pretty fun little just side scroller beat 'em up.
Yeah.
The second game that I want to bring to you real quick is Metroid Prime Remastered. I don't know if you remember, Caleb, but for years I've been wanting this. Not because I was an original Metroid Prime guy or anything. I'd never played it when it was on the GameCube. Quite frankly, when I owned a GameCube, I was a dumb child. I would have never figured this game out.
Yeah.
But it's everyone says it's one of the best games of all time. It is a game that for me at least, when I tried to go back and play it in very legal ways, the controls never felt good, Controls always felt real bad and dated. So when I heard
they're rough,
the Nintendo Direct, I heard Metroid Prime, twin stick controls, a more modern FPS control scheme, and it dropped today at the time of the Direct. Yep. I was buying it on spot. I got a decent way in, got probably to second or third boss, I think, and uninstalled the game. Now, cooler heads prevailed, and I've since re-downloaded the game, and I've made a couple of tactical choices to come back and give it another try and set myself up better for success.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing about that game is really the exploration and just finding all this different stuff. I am... Where I really struggle with the game is being pointed in directions and said, maybe this is the way to go, or maybe you'll hit a dead end and you can't go this way.
Yep.
So, I'm going to start trying to take notes and figure out the map a little better and try and set myself on a path of success. Because the time I spent with that game where I wasn't annoyed and I wasn't ready to delete it because I was annoyed was real good time spent. So I think if I put, this is a little self-reflection. I think I got to put a little more effort in on my end to meet the game halfway.
Yeah. No, Greg, let me lay something on you, all right?
Okay.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I did play Metroid on the GameCube way back when I was a little kid.
Came out.
I was 2 years old when that game came out, but I played it later in life, but on the GameCube.
Okay.
Way back when I was still a wee child. But let me tell you, Greg, that game confused the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I had a bad time? No. Young me loved that game. I thought it was super fun, and I used to just transform into the ball and just roll around. It was super fun, but oh yeah, but no, that is one of the Switch games that I am very excited to dip my toes in. But where I'm at right now with games, I just don't feel like I have the time to get a Switch game right now, where I'm so focused on I got to get through Ishin and then I got to get Atomic Heart going.
Yeah. All right, Caleb. I'm gonna bring you one more game and then we'll wrap this thing up. Put a nice little bow on it.
Oh yeah.
And this game is one I put an hour into yesterday, and I'm excited to be able to try it a little more. And that game is Elden Scrolls Online.
Elden Scrolls Online?
Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, I tried it a while back, and enjoyed my time with it, but could not find myself able to get back into it.
Yeah.
I've been looking for something, and I've kind of told you this, but I've been looking for something that is an RPG kind of style, but I've also been kind of having a multiplayer itch lately.
Yep.
So I said, you know what? I'm gonna try Elden Scrolls Online again. I get it. I have it through Game Pass.
Now wait,
Download it,
I
try
gotta
it
stop you there.
out. Okay.
I gotta stop you there. Are you meaning to say Elden Scrolls Online?
No. Am I?
Okay,
Do I
you've
sound
been
like
saying
a
Elden.
75-year-old man right now?
Yeah, listen, as long as you know it's Elder, we'll call it good.
No, I do. I just I actually have. It's a mod, is what I've been playing.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course, yeah.
No, I am essentially a 75-year-old man right now trying to talk to his grandchild about video games. Both
You
in,
play them Pokey Pac-Mans?
yeah, both in like just me saying things wrong and also the age difference between yourself and I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, Elden Ring is a very different game. A
Yeah, oh,
game
yes,
that I'll
very
never
different.
get into. But Elder Scrolls
Nope.
Online. Elder Scrolls Online's the one I've been trying.
Yeah. Now I gotta tell you, I've played Elder Scrolls Online. I've tried that game so many times, and it's important to say tried, not played, because every single time I've tried it, and like I'll try it for hours. You know, I've played online with friends. I've done everything people recommend you do to make the game more fun. And recently, like I'm talking maybe days before I moved into my new house, so this is like a week ago. You know. It's very recent. I re-downloaded Elder Scrolls Online, and I shit you not, I played it for 3 minutes, and I walked around a map. I looked at it because it's had so many updates since it came out, right? I looked at the game. I saw that graphically, I don't feel like they've improved anything. I looked at a mob. I was like, all right, maybe I'll try combat. I pulled out my weapon. Combat felt awful, and all of this happened within 3 minutes, and then I just deleted it.
Well, you know, Caleb, we can't all be good at Elden Rings Online.
Nope, we can't. We really can't.
No, like I said, I put an hour into it yesterday. I got about through the tutorial because I just re-rolled a character. I decided to go with a red guard because that's the style of character I played in Skyrim. I've come to accept about myself that I'm just not a magic person. I'm a swing sword hit thing kind of player.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm gonna try and get into the world a little bit and see if I can keep up the momentum from the tutorial. And if not, I'll be retreating back to Splitgate and the new season of Halo that's going to be coming out in about 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just not much of an MMO kind of guy. Like MMO combat, I guess. Which is what I would call Elder Scrolls
Yeah,
Online's combat.
I think it's what they'd call it too.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm not a
would
fan
call
of
it
that kind of Yeah, Todd, Mr. Howard.
Mr. Howard.
No, I'm just not a huge fan of that combat, and I feel like overall it just kind of it leaves me wanting more. That's another kind of combat system that I would actually call like weightless. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm actually swinging a sword when I swing a sword in that game. But a game where I do feel like I'm swinging a sword is like Skyrim, where like I feel like I'm way more in control of my attacks, and it just feels better to me. Which is funny because you know Skyrim is so much older than Elder Scrolls Online, but
Skyrim is Elder Scrolls Online's father.
Yeah, yep, the granddaddy.
Anyway, on that note, I think we've just about talked about everything we need to this week, Caleb.
I think we have.
How do you feel about it?
I think we have. I feel pretty good.
Ready to
I
tie
feel
it
pretty
up
good.
and
How do
ship
you
it
guys
off to
feel
the
about it?
podcast
We're
factory?
listening.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you guys want to send us complaints, just look up Todd Howard's email. Send them right to there.
He doesn't get
He'll,
enough complaints.
He does not get enough complaints. He needs more.
He needs more complaints.
But
and
yeah,
if you want to talk about or send in requests for features in Starfield, you can find me on Twitter at Siekman. So please let me know about any Starfield features you want.
If you want, Elder Scroll 6, find me.
Good luck.
Just find me in the world. Yeah, good luck.
Well, Caleb, that brings us to the end of what I'm going to call the Pint and Click podcast, episode 1.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been a pleasure talking to all of the people that might be listening. Thanks, everybody. And let's keep this thing going.
Caleb, until next week.
Until next week.
Enjoy some games.
You enjoy your games.